Hi guys, this is the Well of Inspiration. Welcome back for those of you who've tuned in before. For those of you who are new, we are going to take you on a journey of inspiration right here with the Well of Inspiration and Wellington. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Make sure you share this and like us as well. And share with people who are actually like-minded, people who need the motivation, people who you know will benefit from the content that we are putting out on the Well of Inspiration. Joining me as always, Wellington. Hello.
Hey Don, how are you doing today?
Don is doing okay. Don is doing okay. How about Wellington?
I'm doing very well. I'm not complaining at all.
Fantastic, fantastic. All right, Wellington, this week on the Well of Inspiration, what do you have in store for our audience?
You know what? I would like us to speak on the subject of finances. Because I believe that sometimes what we need to consider as human beings is how our mindset is working and how that is impacting our finances. So if I was to give it a topic, I would say change your mindset, change your finances. It's all about finances today, just an elementary discussion around financial education, financial literacy. I'm really hopeful that there's somebody out there who's listening who may take a thing or two and use it to enhance their financial situation.
Wellington, I'm one of those people.
There we go. Let's get the ball rolling. I believe you will learn a few things from here. Okay, so if I ask you about money, like what is money, there's something that immediately comes into your mind. What is money? For many people, already you can see some pictures in your mind. You can already start to imagine certain things around finances that kind of help you define what money really is. But then again, if I ask you, what is your mindset around money? That will also get you thinking. But I'm just wondering what is going on in your mind right now. And whatever is going on in your mind right now is either demonstrating a fixed mindset towards finances or a growth mindset towards finances. What do I mean? If you find yourself saying in your mind that I know everything already, there's nothing new for me to learn, that's a fixed mindset. If you find yourself thinking that you are no longer capable or you are just not capable of learning anything new, that's a fixed mindset. If it so happens that you're thinking that if somebody criticizes you, you feel threatened by the criticism, that's a fixed mindset. If for any reason you think that it's too early or it's too late to talk about finances or to think about improving your financial situation, you might be working on a fixed mindset. And I would like you to consider the alternative. If you want to think with what I call the growth mindset towards finances, think more along the lines of understanding that you are capable of learning anything that you set your mind to learn. Understand as well that there's a world of knowledge out there that is waiting to be discovered, and the person to discover that world is you. And when you look at other people around you, instead of feeling threatened by their success, you find yourself inspired by whatever other people have been able to achieve in their lives. That is a growth mindset towards success, towards finances. When you get criticized, my friends, when you get criticized, if criticism makes you feel like, wow, that's positive, take it as positive feedback, that, my friend, is a growth mindset.
Wellington, I love the way you talk about, the difference with fixed mindset and a growth mindset. And I think there's such a big difference between the two. I think the next question to ask you is, how do you form a growth mindset? How do you change your mindset from being fixed into a growth mindset?
That's a lovely question. That's a lovely question. And let's look at that very closely. You know what? Your growth mindset, whatever mindset you form around money, is determined by a few factors. One of which is your experiences with money. If you've had positive experiences with money, you tend to have a growth mindset towards money because your mindset is positive towards money and positive towards what money can do. Another thing, if you've been on the receiving end of generosity, you understand the power that money has to make a difference. And most of the times, you tend to have a growth mindset towards money. Another thing to remember is how money has been spoken about around you, especially as we are growing up in our families, how our parents were having the conversation around money, how our immediate family was having the conversation around money. That tends to have an impact on how we see money in our own personal lives, even as we grow older. And also what you've seen other people do with money. When there's usually those people around us who are a little bit well off, they do things with money that give us an experience with money that helps us to form a mindset around money. So when we have these things happening around us, they tend to affect our mindset, whether it be a fixed mindset, but most importantly, whenever you have a growth mindset towards money, it is impacted by positive life experiences that you've seen around you as far as money is concerned. And now the question that you asked as to how can we change the mindset? How then can we move away from the fixed mindset to the growth mindset? There's a few ideas I'm going to suggest. As usual, I try to make this show as practical as possible so that I can give you some things you can take away from here, go try out for yourself. If they work for you, run with them. If they don't, please go look around, find the things that work for you, as long as you understand that there's a need in your life for you to discover a positive mindset towards money, a growth mindset towards money. My first suggestion when it comes to what you can do to build a growth mindset is to be a person of reading. Read books about finance and read books about personal growth. As you expose yourself to positive information about money, it has an impact on how your mind begins to see this whole conversation around money. Reading books on finance and personal growth has a positive impact towards your mindset towards money. Okay? Another thing is get back to understanding yourself. Understand your beliefs around money. What do you think? When you think about money, what comes to your mind? Do you believe that money is the root of all evil, like what I've heard many people talk about? Or do you believe that money is a tool for positive impact? Those beliefs around money tends to impact your mindset, and therefore you can work around improving your beliefs so that you can improve your mindset towards money. You can also develop a habit of giving. Develop a habit of giving, especially giving to those that you love and those that are less fortunate around you. Develop that habit. That habit tends to cultivate something inside you, something positive inside you around what money can do, what difference money can make. And that tends to help you to build a positive mindset around finances. And I also challenge you to just believe that success is possible. Financial success is a possibility even for you. It doesn't matter what your situation is right now. Financial success is indeed a possibility for you. Believe that, and you will begin to build a rather positive attitude towards your finances. And one thing that I encourage people to do as you think about your finances and as you work to build a positive, a growth mindset around money, I say to you, think of the day that you are now retired. Sitting under a tree, looking back on your life, reminiscing on the good times that have come, reminiscing on everything that has happened in your life. What kind of life do you want to have at that time? What kind of income do you want to be receiving at that time? What sort of lifestyle do you want to be living at that time? Do you want to be traveling the world? Or do you want to retire to the rural areas and have a nice big herd of cattle to look after? What is it that you want that to see when you think about your retirement? The more you focus on the growth you want, the lifestyle you want at the end of your working life, of your productive life, that has an impact on the way you look at money today. In other words, your mindset is influenced by how you expect your life to be at the end of your productive years. These are some ideas that I think you can consider. Consider them today, and you will see how they impact you as you think about money. I have a strong belief that as you look at these things, you will begin to understand that these have a positive impact on where your finances can go and how you as an individual views the whole subject of finance, especially moving away from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset.
Wellington, thank you so much for breaking that down and making it, you're dissecting it and showing people this is how you can change from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. And I think, like you're saying, that positive attitude to go with it. What we give energy to is what we become, or what becomes our reality. So the more positivity we give, we take away those old sayings. I remember growing up and, we had the sayings of money doesn't grow on trees. It's not like I can go outside and shake a tree and the leaves will fall down and there we have money. You have to be careful how you use your money. Make sure you're putting it in the right things. People kept saying we are poor, and that mindset leaves you in that space. You don't have room to grow. You don't have room to think outside the box, but you actually do if you put your mind to it. Be positive about that money. Be positive that yes, you have today, but you can have some more tomorrow. So that positive outlook on it allows you to have that growth mindset.
Yeah, so you're right, Dawn. This whole thing of money doesn't grow on trees. We grew up hearing so many different things from our families, from the people around us. You will simply be asking for something that you want as a child. But then the answer that you get makes you feel that this thing called money is not our friend after all. You know what I mean? Which is a shame, because then our minds, we get this idea that money is probably not our friend. That's how people end up with these ideas that, that we even went on to misquote the Bible and say money is the root of all evil. That's not what the Bible says, okay? The Bible doesn't say that money is the root of all evil. But we've embraced this as a concept because we are throwing around a lot of negative ideas, negative energy, and negative concepts around money. Okay? So I want everybody to really consider these things and think how they've impacted where you are right now as far as your finances are concerned. If you think about it, each and every individual has something that I call your personal philosophy around money. There are two schools of thought when it comes to this philosophy. There are those who fit within the frugalist philosophy, people who strive to keep costs very low. Their goal is to keep a tight lid on the spending and to stop any leakage of funds and keep a very careful watch on expenses. Very frugal. But then there is the alternative, which is the capitalist philosophy. Now, the capitalist is that person who focuses on income generation and making money, and they work on ways to raise their ability to make more money to solve the problems that money has in their lives. So basically, if they are faced with a lot of problems, They would rather focus on earning more money than complaining and tightening on the expenses so that they spend less. Okay, spending needs to be controlled. However, it's also important to remember that you can actually work to make more money instead of worrying about reducing the expenses.
I love this, Wellington. I think many of us can ask that question to ourselves. When it comes to philosophy about money, are you the frugalistic kind of person or are you the capitalist? I think those are the two questions you can ask yourself today about money, the philosophy of money, and who are you between those two?
Absolutely. I've heard some people say more money, more problems. Huh?
Yeah, there's even songs about it, Wellington.
Yes, I do know the song. Okay, but in the end, what we're basically saying is that money is just a tool. If a tool is in the hands of a good person, the tool will do wonderful things. If the tool is in the hands of a bad person, it will do dangerous things. Take a hammer, for example. If you give a hammer to a gentleman who knows how to work with wood, they can actually use the hammer as a tool to make something beautiful. But if you put a hammer in the hands of a violent person, guess what will happen? Disaster is on the way. The same applies with money. Money is just a tool. What it does is dependent on who is holding the tool in their hands.
Wellington, that is beautifully said. I don't think that anyone out there could say it better. Money is a tool and it's dependent on who is actually handling the tool. Don't go anywhere. This is what we're talking about right here on the Well of Inspiration. We'll be back. Change your mindset, change your finances. That is what we're covering right here on the Well of Inspiration this week. Wellington has been talking about people and their mindset on money. So you either have a fixed mindset or you have a growth mindset. Now he's dissected the two and he's actually spoken about different things that you can do to actually put yourself in that space where you have a growth mindset when it comes to money rather. Now he's talked about the philosophies around money. He says there's two that go behind this. One is the frugalist, the person who's always trying to cut down on costs in every which way that they possibly can. He's also talked about the capitalist, and that is a person who's actually focused on the income generation, constantly looking for ways to make more income so that they don't have to complain about the situation that they find themselves into. He's also gone to say that money is a tool, and that tool works best in the right hands, and obviously it can be a destructive tool if it's in the wrong hands. Wellington.
Very nice. Thank you very much for that summary, Dawn. Very, very useful. Now, whenever we talk about money, I always bring the conversation of goal setting, because it is important that we set goals when it comes to our finances. Sometimes we set goals to lose weight, we set goals to do different things, to get an education, to do so many amazing things. But oftentimes we let the finance conversation just glide through and we take it as it comes day by day. But my suggestion to you today is that you set goals around money. We're all familiar with the SMART acronym around setting your goals. Your goal must be specific, it must be measurable, it must be achievable, realistic, and time-bound. Very straightforward philosophy around setting goals. But I want to remind you that in the same way that we apply SMART principles to setting goals, we must also apply SMART principles to actually making our goals happen. You see, my friends, it's one thing to set a goal. It's another thing to set about making that goal come to life by doing the right things. And you can also apply a SMART principle around making your dreams come true in real times. First of all, the S in SMART turns into strategy. What is the strategy that you are implementing around achieving your financial goals? You might be getting yourself more skills. You might be networking with a different group of people. You might be changing your career. Maybe you are thinking of starting a business in order to enhance your financial position. What's the strategy? The next thing is, what milestones are you going to be considering as you work towards your financial journey? If you are targeting $1 million turnover, $1 million in revenue and income for a year, you might want to think about your milestones. When you get to 100,000, recognize the milestone. When you get to 150, recognize the milestone. Okay, as you work through and work towards achieving your goals, also pay attention to the milestones, because they are the ones that give you an indication of where you are in your journey towards whatever financial goal you've set for yourself. You might also want to recognize the actions you need to take. That is the A in the SMART acronym. What actions are you actually taking towards achieving your financial goals? Are you doing the right things, or are you busy procrastinating? Are you being productive, or are you binging on Netflix? What actions are you taking? The R in the SMART principle refers to resources. What resources are you putting around you that will enable you to work towards achieving your financial goal? The resources can come in different forms. They can be physical resources, like if you want to make money online, the first thing to start with is, do you have a laptop? Do you have a mobile phone that allows you to do the things you want to do online? Do you have the resources? If you think that getting a car that you can hire out to other people for money is a resource that you need, then maybe you want to consider how you will achieve getting that resource into position for you to start earning the amount you want to earn. What resources do you have around you? How much capital do you need? Do you have it? If you don't have it, where are you going for it? Are you building the resources? Okay, then the last item, which is the T in the SMART acronym, is team. Who is on your team? As you work towards your financial goals, who's on your team? If you're running a business, your team might be the people that work with you in your company. If you're not there yet, maybe it is your family, the network that is your immediate network. Who's on your team? It could also be your mentors, people that show you the way because they have walked the way before you. Those people are on your team. Then there are others who just encourage you and support you and motivate you. They are part of your team. The question is, who is on your team? For many of us, we spend our time with people who are not necessarily working in the same direction that we're working. We don't spend time with like-minded people, and we find ourselves sometimes isolated because our goals are detached from the people we're spending around with. Build a team around you that is helping you to move towards your goal and your dream as far as finances is concerned. So we've taken the SMART acronym, the standard SMART acronym, we've now translated it to mean something different as far as it's about you executing towards your goals and your dreams. Now, when we talk about setting goals for finance, one of the things that affects us as individuals when it comes to achieving our financial goals, it is just being in control of our habits. Warren Buffett once said, "The chains of habit are too light to be felt until they are too heavy to be broken." Your habits have a massive impact when it comes to whether you achieve your financial goals or you don't achieve them. And one habit I have to mention in this episode is the habit of impulse buying. My friends, as you listen to me right now, I want you to recognize that for an average consumer, at least 40% of the money you spend in a lifetime is on impulse buys. Money that you're spending that you did not plan for. Money that you're spending on things that you've just seen in a shop. Things that you were not planning to buy, but because you walk into a shop and somehow these things talk to you, you find yourself pulling out your card, spending the money that you had not planned to spend. It's all about impulse buying. Be very careful with this. I believe, and this has been my experience, debit cards and credit cards sometimes fuel impulse buying because it kind of feels like you are just spending money. You're not really spending money, but you're just buying. Because there's this card, all you need to do is just swipe. It's readily available. You don't really have to think about it. It's all about just those impulse buys. Be very careful when you walk into a shop, when you walk into a mall, wherever you go into, think about the money you are going to spend. Are you spending the money you planned to spend, or you're spending money because you've seen certain things that you did not necessarily plan to buy? That's impulse buying.
Wellington, I like the way you talk about setting goals and the way you've broken it down. And you've spoken about, let's set good goals. Let's set good money goals. But at the same time, while you're setting those goals, let's make it come to life. And you put in that SMART acronym and you said the S stands for strategy, the M for milestones, the A is for action you need to take, the R is for the resources, the T is for the team that you have behind you. And then you talked about, putting into control our different habits, those bad habits. And you said impulse buying is one of those bad habits. And you also went on to say about 40% of the money you spend in your life is actually on impulse buying. And a lot of us have credit cards today. So I know that is something that we use a lot of because, like you said, we don't feel like we're actually spending that money, but we are spending it. So I think the question that I'll ask you next has to do with impulse buying, obviously. What can we actually do to handle that impulse buying for the viewers who are watching and they're wondering, what can we do to handle this impulse that I actually have as a viewer who's watching?
Okay, you know what? First of all, I want you to recognize this. When you walk into a supermarket, as you get closer, when you're standing in the queue to go and make your payment, do you realize that there's always so many things around that pay area that is so appealing, little things like chocolates and things you can just pick up and add to your basket that you may not have planned for because they were not on your list. That's why you didn't buy them in the first place. But now that you're walking to go and make a payment, they've placed all these little temptations for you to buy. Watch out for that. Watch out for that and do not fall for the temptation. That's the first thing I consider. The next thing is you use your debit cards or credit cards for your needs, mostly for your needs. Try using cash for the rest. Because cash, when you've got cash in your pocket, spending cash is sometimes a lot more painful than spending money with a card. Okay? Think about that. Also, remember to develop shopping lists. When you go to buy anything, when you walk into a supermarket, walk into a shop, what are you going there to buy? Have the list either on your phone, on a piece of paper, or in your mind, but have the list. Know what you're going in there for, which helps you to practice thinking before spending. That's very important. The other thing you can do is, this is very interesting. Take an impulse buying inventory. Wherever you are, look around you. Look in your drawers. Look in your closet. What is it that you have in your closet that you bought thinking you needed it, and then you realize you actually don't need it because up to now you haven't used it? Or you used it once and you realize, maybe you don't like it after all. Do that inventory check. When you look at those things, you're going to realize how really impulse buying has affected you, and it will help you to make some changes to improve your situation.
Fantastic. My mind is racing trying to think what I have in my closet that I don't need or that I've not worn or that I have that I bought on impulse. Yeah, and I'm sure we all have a few things in there that we bought on impulse. Absolutely true, Wellington.
100%. And one thing that I talk about all the time is something called lifestyle inflation. where we start living large because we now have a lot more income than we had yesterday. Guess what? When you change your life to match your income, what is then happening is that in terms of what remains does not really improve. Okay, because you're spending everything new that has come. In fact, usually, if your life changes and you begin to spend more, you realize that your money doesn't become enough. You still need some more to finance the new lifestyle that you've onboarded. You've now bought a new car. You're now living in a better apartment. You're now going to better restaurants. You're hanging out in better places. Guess what? Your bills are also going to rise up, and they usually either match your new income or they even go beyond it. Okay? So we have to think about all these things when we think about our finances. Okay, especially around our habits towards finance. But one very important subject that we cannot finish this show without talking about is the idea of assets and liabilities. Guys, are you spending money on assets or are you spending money on liabilities? If you look at the things that you have around you, the things you own, the things that you call your own, are they really assets or are they liabilities? I always ask people about their mobile phones. Is your mobile phone an asset or is it a liability? Think about the car that you drive. Is it an asset or is it a liability? Well, to answer that question, we might want to consider the definition. What is an asset? What is a liability? When it comes to personal finance, and I'm saying this because I know that there's a lot of people who are in the world of accounting and finance who tend to understand assets and liabilities from a balance sheet, commercial balance sheet perspective. That is not what I want us to remember here. When it comes to your personal finances, the way you look at an asset is different from the way you look at an asset in a commercial sense, right? So let's think about it. An asset in personal finance is anything that brings income to your pocket. Anything that is contributing to an increase in the income that you have is considered as an asset. On the other hand, anything that you have that is contributing to the build-up of expenses may not be an asset. If we go back to the question I asked earlier, the question of your mobile phone, is it an asset or a liability? This question is best answered with this mindset in question, where you say, is my mobile phone helping me bring revenue, or is my mobile phone rather adding to my expenses? When you answer that honestly, you will know exactly what is an asset, what is a liability. In my opinion, my friends, the main difference between an asset and a liability is that an asset gives you a future economic benefit, while a liability gives you a future economic obligation. That is where the difference comes. Now, the question is, are you spending your finances on assets or are you spending them on liabilities? I hope that you'll prioritize assets over liabilities at any given time.
Wow, Wellington, I love this. And I love the way that you took it away from the bank and said, we're looking at it on a very personal level, the assets, the liabilities. And I think as individuals, we can actually sit back and ask ourselves that question and say, what do I have? Do I have assets? Do I have liabilities? And if it's liabilities, how do I change that and actually allow myself to only have the assets that I need to move forward as a person, as an individual, to grow, to change, and to expand?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So look, this topic of personal finance is huge. There's so many elements that we could talk about on this show if we had enough time. But look, maybe we can do another edition of this topic of personal finance and really look at other things that we can do as far as improving our assets and reducing our liabilities, as well as budgeting our finances, investing options and things like that, so that we can work as an African people to grow and build our financial position so that we can be in a position to make positive contribution using that money as a tool to positively impact our families and the societies that we live in.
Fantastic, Wellington, and I absolutely love this. I think we should do another episode. For those who are watching us right now, if you have any questions, any queries that you want, answered or addressed right here on the Well of Inspiration, we're happy to do so. Comment below in the comments tab. Give us your view, give us your questions. If you have anything that you want clarified, please, by all means, do not feel, scared to do so. Just comment down below. Wellington or the Cradle of Life will get back to you and give you details on how you can actually implement these different strategies that he's put before you into your own personal life and allow yourself to actually grow in your space and to actually know the difference between your assets and your liabilities. This has been a great episode on the Well of Inspiration. Wellington, thank you so much for taking the time to break it down and make it more relatable to the normal person, to the normal person like myself, like a lot of our viewers out there.
Thank you very much, Don. It has been my pleasure always. And yes, the Well of Inspiration is a place we come to share with you information, ideas, and strategies that are designed to help you to take your lives, your businesses, your careers, your relationships, and even your finances to the next level of success. And I certainly hope that today's episode was helpful for you. And as Don said, do like, share, and let us know what you think about the episode.
Fantastic stuff, Wellington. Thank you so much. As always, great stuff, gripping stuff that gets your head thinking, you get your mind rolling, and hopefully we can have made a little bit of an impact in your life today right here on the Well of Inspiration. Wellington, until next time, I'll catch you.
Thank you very much, Don. Have a great week ahead.
And to you too.